So there are two sets of minutes that you have received, so I'd like that motion.
1 minute,
Sure.
two financials.
1 minute and two financials, thank you for clarifying. We have Larry.
I second.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. Now we have a motion to approve the minutes of the emergency meeting on September 13th and the regular held meeting on September 20th.
Oh,
Yeah, there are two.
sorry.
It's
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the September 13th and the September 20th,
Need
2021.
a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed, motion passes. All right, can you give us the financial report, William?
Yes, I made one change in the way it's formatted. You'll see the September and, I'm sorry, the August and September and October reports. We didn't have the September in time for our last meeting, that's why they're shown here. And there's a summary following the CPA's report, and you'll see a short page with a box on it. If you can see the page I'm holding. And the change I made is instead of showing the cash balance at the end of the, Evans, this one.
Looking for the
Next to the
one,
last page.
balance sheet, red bank reconciliation
Yeah,
and
so
profit and
instead
loss.
instead of showing the, it's a summary page, that really probably should go first. But instead of showing the end of the fiscal year, we're showing the end of the most previous month. So where you see it was 148,000 on September 30, it's now 159. And the relatively large increase has to do with rent that we received from Becca Sam, which is the first solar array.
Rent from what?
Becca Sam, solar array, they pay roughly $5,150. It's been going up each year.
Anything else you'd like to say?
And on financials, no. The only thing is we'll be sending out, I've gathered the information to send out pilot invoices, and they'll be going out here in another couple days.
Who are they going to?
To JMS and Integer, and also a small one to RCS Fabrication.
So there are three.
Systems, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any questions or discussions about the financials? If not, I'd like a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, thank you. In terms of reports, we have the chair and the director. The only thing I was going to talk about was the move, and we'll cover that for the video. Williams' office has moved from the county commission office to rented space down at River Run Logistics, which is Nathan Wooten's building, old former Shaw building. Small office, okay. Price is right, it's $250 a month. And with a little potential for expansion to another room next to that office for either as the office or a meeting location. And the plan is temporary in that when the county moves into the new building that they'll eventually create for the Board of Elections, there's likely to be offices there that we'll move into as well. I don't know the timeline for that construction at all, but that's just FYI. Did you need to get some equipment for that move? You want to talk about that?
The county was gracious enough to let us borrow the computer that I'd been using previously. So we've got that computer, we've got the old Hewlett-Packard printer, which is a workhorse. It's an old one, but very good one. But there is a need to do photocopying and scanning, and for that we'll have to buy something. So Peter alerted me to PC.com, CNET, and a number of others, and I went on a couple. It seems as though the range, I sent this electronically, I didn't make a copy, but the range is about 250 to 500. You can pay, some of them run over 1,000, but there's no
You're
reason.
talking about a laser printer?
These are actually ink,
Inkjet?
Inkjet.
Okay.
all in one, yeah, and they're all color, and they're all wireless.
Yeah, that's standard. Yeah.
They're all inkjet. I assume that, I don't know if that's better than I'm used to
The
laser.
laser.
but inkjet
Laser's better, but it
A lot
gets
more
cheaper.
expensive.
Yeah, it's probably a factor of 2 to 1. The laser color printers are about $1,000. We can save about half. So I don't have a specific proposal on that. There were a lot in the 250 to 300 range plus tax that seemed to be perfectly adequate.
Those being inkjet, we need to look at the price of,
Ink.
yeah.
It's high, it's a lot.
And then you say you have a printer, but you needed something to be able to scan, and
Photocopy.
so, okay.
Because we scan a lot of documents. People ask for a copy of something and we
So
scan it. and
that
send
won't
it.
use any
Oh,
scanning.
exactly, yeah. The printer, not so much, and my feeling about it is that if it's a big document, like, say, covenants or bylaws, something like that, we can do that on the old workhorse Hewlett-Packard. We don't need to use the expensive ink. The copier would just be for small jobs, so I would hope that would be at a minimum, but we're still printing, there's some correspondence. But again, correspondence is done on the old workhorse because we take our letterhead and run that through the black and white machine. And I don't do a lot of color. And if it's a really giant job, what I can do is put that on a thumb drive and carry that over to the administration building where there is a gigantic, $30,000, whatever the cost is, of a gigantic rented printer.
Well, can we make a motion that we just gave him,
What?
$400?
We're not on the agenda for that, but Robin, is that something, do we need to
Well,
have that on the
movie.
agenda to make a motion? And maybe amend the agenda first? Or do-
Yeah,
or does that have
let's
to be-
amend the agenda and do it that way.
Or does that have to
Yeah.
be something that's done by motion? I mean, the expenditure?
All right, well, we need a motion to amend the agenda to include purchase of equipment for Williams' office.
Now I'll make that motion.
I second it.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Why don't we budget you $400? I think that's more than enough for a good laser, a cop.
All-in-one,
All-in-one inkjet. I've bought a lot of them in my time, and the prices, you can do it for that or
Oh,
less.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so I need a motion to authorize $400 expenditure for an all-in-one printer copier.
I'll make that motion.
Any second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes, okay. What else do you got in your report, Mr. Director?
We still don't have word as to whether Integer or its landlord is going to make an offer to acquire an option for the 4.4 acre vacant tract we have that we're currently leasing to Integer for $1,000 a year. I don't know if Robin's heard anything on that. I certainly haven't. And I haven't really wanted to push it because it's really something that's between, I would expect them to be in touch with Robin on this, lawyer to lawyer. They have Robin's name and information. I can maybe suggest that they get in touch with Robin again. I've done it a couple times, but I'm basically not getting through to anybody when I call either law firm. So as a practical matter, they seem to have lost interest in our little property until the event comes, the decision comes up again. I talked to someone at Integer who didn't have an answer as to what the Integer's plans were for that property, although we have the impression that Integer is running at full staff and would like to do some additional projects here in Trenton, but nothing official that I can announce. Project Flavor, as you all may know, has said no, they would like to go to another community. The concern about wastewater, that was the concern from day one. And we think there is still a possibility it may be in Georgia, but we don't know. There has not yet been an announcement as to where they're going. But I think apparently our system just wasn't ready for them. And we didn't have a plan that we could present to them that would have changed their long-term look at Trenton. Another subject comes up, and I puzzle about this from time to time. When we get something called an RFI, and everyone, for people who may be watching from home, RFI is a request for information, And it's the standard way in which companies reach out to industrial parks that they're thinking perhaps of locating to. And RFIs typically will have a requirement of, Evan's been looking at recently, 30 acres, 50 acres. Sometimes they want an existing building. And we have about 19 acres. There's some slope to it. There's a little settling pond on it. We have probably 10 or 11 good usable acres out of the 19. And it's just smaller than what we get in terms of requests for information. So I was thinking, and this is what I wanted to put it out as not so much a resolution, although it could be. I would like to get some discussion as to whether or not we should simply hire a commercial broker to market that lot on the open market. What would most likely happen is a developer would buy that lot and build what's called a spec building. And again, for those who don't know the terminology of our industry, many times a company will build a building on speculation, therefore the term spec building, with hopes that they can lease it or potentially sell it to another company. But the advantage to us in the short term, when I say us, I'm talking about the county and the Industrial Development Authority, is that we can sell a property without having to make any incentives. We hear about incentives all the time, and people sometimes are uncomfortable with that notion that we would give a better deal to a company. But if we're simply selling the property, we're selling it for cash. And we got an appraisal on the property. I think that appraisal was a reasonable number, that it would generate some revenue for us. So when a company buys land and perhaps builds a building on speculation for industry in the future, there's no way that we can give any significant incentives, because we don't know how many people they're going to employ and at what rates, and there's just simply not enough information. So it becomes a real estate deal. And I would at least like to entertain that prospect here among our membership to see if that's something that we would consider.
Well, the
Well,
only thing
go
that
ahead.
you do, you take everything off the table that we can offer them if it is prospective. If it goes to a real estate agent, they're gonna sell it. They'll want their commission off of it. So if there's someone from an RFP that has to have 11 acres of land that wanted to bring 150 jobs, depending on what it is, we couldn't make that deal for them. And that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And now, if you're saying that 19 acres is not valuable for us to be able to use that as a tool to bring folks, then maybe it is a worthwhile venture to go ahead and turn that into cash to buy some more land.
It's maybe a Robin issue. I think even if an outside company purchases the property, we can probably do, again, there are a number of factors, that's why I say probably, but it's a possibility that we can do a bond issue with them where we would take, IDA would take nominal title to the land that they own and then arrange some kind of pilot payment in lieu of taxes, for those who don't know. And that would be an option, I think, and I'm going to ask Robin to weigh in on this in the future. So even if someone does buy the land, if it looks as though they're bringing a good deal to Trenton, then we can talk to them about a bond issue. Does that seem
Yeah,
reasonable?
so if they hold title of property, they would have to title the property back over to us and we hold it during the course of the pilot, but we could do that though.
Well, that's a good point that you made, Evan. I mean, at least it takes the conversation off the table a little bit if the owning party doesn't want to deal with that because they have different intentions for the property. It may not work for us. But what I'd like you to do is, we've talked to a spec building company in the past, as I think you know.
Yes.
Ask them if they would be interested in that kind of a deal and see what they have to say. And then we'll have more data on the table, we can talk about it.
The negative with this, to some degree, is we lose control over what happens to the
That's
property.
right.
So if someone comes in and writes a big check, it's great. there's some revenue for us on the short term. We don't know for sure what they're gonna, we can't tell them what they can and can't do.
That's right. So
I don't think we need to lose that right.
Well, it's sitting primarily right in the middle of the industrial park, and if you open it up to somebody that you can't have a lot of control of what they, I mean, it's not like it's over in the right-hand corner, you know, it's right in the middle, pretty much.
We can put a covenant on it, a restrictive covenant when we sell it. Those are difficult because you don't really know what to anticipate.
I mean, the advantage of it, it goes back on the tax rolls until something's done.
That's right.
But
It's not a lot of money.
it's not a lot of money.
Because it's
you know,
vacant property.
from that.
Yeah.
It might be
aspect.
300,000, but it's not a million. It's not
So-
a huge amount.
I like Peter's idea. If you got somebody that wanted to build something on there as a spec building, then
Yeah, well, just
might be able to
see if there's any
entertain.
interest, but I don't know if we'll do it. But see if there's any interest and what it might bring in terms of options. And maybe they have somebody that they need to put in a building. And we've, you know, we can talk to the people we've talked to in the past, at least.
I've talked to several companies that do this and several commercial brokers, and one, for example, is just as an example. And the context was really Highway 299, it wasn't the industrial park. But this is a broker whose client leases to 3 categories of business, primarily those who manufacture automobile parts. So that's a relatively clean industry, but again, I think if any time the IDA sells property, we absolutely have to have some limitations on what the property can be used for, and that's something that has to be established at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Enough on that topic?
Yep. Just to have that out there.
We'll
we
get
can
an
continue.
FYI,
Yeah.
and some information. And
Yeah, and if I can, if it's okay then with the members of the IDA, I'd like to talk to brokers again about that. My original, as you've heard me say, I've talked to them about 299. I'm concerned at 299 that we don't have the water capacity for a large project, but we certainly do in the industrial park. Beltline Solar has paid a small additional option fee, and they are proceeding to close. We don't have a closing date when they would purchase the property. Again, that was a smaller property that was hilly, rectangular, not a premium property for industry, and they were willing to purchase that for another solar project. And when that happens, of course, there are no incentives, and that property goes into the county tax rolls right away, so they'd be paying tax to the tax commissioner. I have a little bit of news from the advisory committee at the city that's looking into hotels. I guess it's a part of their zoning function, but they have reportedly said, and I say reported because I haven't seen anything in writing, and Robin may know more. I don't know. Someone else at the table may know more. It looks as though the city is going to ban hotels, which, I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. It's going to ban motels, and motels are defined as an overnight accommodation where each room has its own door to the outside, as opposed to having a central entry.
That was adopted last Monday night. The planning commission had presented that a couple of months ago. It was, a moratorium was set, and they did adopt that, I believe, that as a recommendation from the planning commission for the city. And there was a list of about 6 or 7 or 8 different guidelines concerning hotels and motels.
Is there any objection if I bring up the possibility of a hotel, that is to say, not a motel, but a hotel with interior entrance, and resume that line of discussion with other hotel developers? It's something I started a couple of years ago and didn't go far because people were saying, well, Trenton's nice, but it's not a big enough market. The one hotel operator who looked at Trenton recently was willing to open a 24-room hotel. He felt that the market here would support only 24, which is a very small hotel. So you can't serve breakfast at that. They wouldn't serve it. But if you get to 32, 36 rooms, they could start to offer some amenities to their guests that maybe would be more appealing and work here. And I would encourage any hotel operators to take a second look at Trenton.
I did talk with a hotel operator, excuse me, not a motel, but a hotel operator, recently, a couple of weeks ago, and he came up to me because he had been over here and looked both in the city and on the north end, and he told me, he said they have started letting money go again to build. You know, I mean, they just, when COVID hit, all that money just dried up. Nobody wanted, none of the big banks wanted to be able to put any money into building anything where people had to travel. So they, I guess for the lack of a better word, kind of froze that money. But he did tell me, he came up to me and he said they've started opening up that money that's available again to build hotels. So he said, I just wanted to let y'all know.
I don't think we have any objection to you inquiring,
No.
right?
On another topic, we completed our annual audit for the fiscal year ended June 30. Everything was fine, no problems there. We have increased the rent by a small amount based on the Consumer Price Index to CHI Memorial and to Integer. And they have started, both of those tenants have already paid 1 month on the beginning November 1st at the new rate. So that will generate about another $1,800 or $1,900 in revenue for the IDA over the next 12 months.
Oh, boy.
That'll pay for our scanner and copier and
Yeah. And the
conference
ink.
room.
And the ink.
Ink, that's right, yeah. And I have been working a little bit with the Dade County Water and Sewer Authority. Wrote an endorsement for 2 of their grant applications to the state of Georgia, and we're hoping that they'll generate some revenue for the water and sewer. One is in the millions of dollars to supply water to parts of Lookout Mountain where pipes need to be replaced, and another was to develop a new system for water intake from Lookout Creek, which is about $500,000 or so. So both of those seem like important roles. We think the Water and Sewer Authority should take a look at some other projects, including Highway 299. That's something that we'll encourage them to do in the next few weeks. We have, with the new law coming out of Washington, there should be an additional money for those kinds of infrastructure projects. Any questions?
No? Anybody have anything they'd like to bring up?
I would like to mention that on December 4, there's going to be the expo at the Dade County High School. There will be some job recruitment there by some of our larger employers, and there will be a lot of vendors. It's essentially a place to do Christmas shopping, and we know there are no supply chain issues there. What you see on the table is what you get, and it's instantaneous and no ordering and no delivery fees. So that'll be a nice event, and it's the same day
They've
as...
sold out on their vendor spots, so it's
Great.
they have no more, they can maybe fit one more group in if they had to, but there's no more room.
That's great.
Always room for one more, Peter. Always room for one more.
Absolutely.
Nathan Wooten was very helpful with that and helping to organize that and using his contacts with vendors. There'll be a parade. We're hoping there'll be a time for people to come in and have a meal and buy gasoline and do all the good things that generate sales tax revenue for our community. And then finally, one small, just a very minor administrative detail. In a previous meeting, we authorized $1,000 to go toward the funding of the Dade, Job Ready Dade hiring event. The actual amount went to $1,175, and I have a grant from my law firm for the additional $175 and change, so we'll cap out at exactly $1,000.
Filling out our deficits that way. It's a good way to go.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you to you and your law firm for the generous contribution of, probably all the profit you've made this year. Okay, if nothing else, I'll take a motion to
Do we
adjourn.
need, did you say we were not going to meet next month?
Thank you.
Do we
Yeah,
need
I'm going to suggest we don't meet next month. I won't be here, but if you feel there's a need to meet, but I think
Play it by ear. If we have a need.
it won't meet.
we'll just do
So
it.
no regular meeting, only if we have to have a
Can we-
special call
can we
meeting.
forego one meeting a
Sure
month?
can.
Well, do you need a motion for that?
No, we're good.
It just won't be called.
And so, that day on your calendar is now free for Christmas shopping.
All right.
Whatever you want to do with it. All right, so did I get a motion to adjourn?
Business.
You have
He's got-
something? Okay. Thank you. Oh, Larry, I guess this time has come, huh? For you to retire. This is to the board from Larry. Please accept this letter as notice of my resignation from the Dade County Industrial Development Authority effective January 1, 2022. It has been an honor and a pleasure to serve in this position. I am proud of all we have accomplished over the years. I have no doubt the board will continue these successes in the future. If I can be of any assistance during the time it will take to fill the position, please don't hesitate to ask. Best regards, Larry Moore. Well, Larry, let's give you a hand for all the work you've done for this community. Thank you for all your service and beyond just here, but what you did as a commissioner. And so I guess this wraps up your public life, huh?
No,
No?
I just take on another.
Do we need to have a motion to accept this resignation? What's the deal?
Really don't.
We really don't? Okay, there you go, for the record. And I'm sure we'll let the county know. And if they don't already know that the position needs to be filled. Well, thank you, Larry, for your
Yes,
service.
thank you very much.
And to add to that, I think it's very fitting to note that Larry, when he became sole commissioner, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was the first commissioner, they actually hired an economic development director for the county.
Rose? Ruth.
Ruth.
Yeah, Ruth
Yeah.
Moore, yeah.
So
Yeah,
he had a vision back then, and it's, hopefully, we can continue it on.
That's
Well,
true.
it's a great legacy.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
your legacy is very firm and very proud to have it too, I'm sure. Well, motion to adjourn, somebody?
Motion we do.
We have a motion second, all in favor? Aye, any opposed? No, motion passes. Thank you, meeting's over.
Thank you.
What time?
And
Happy
if I don't see
Thanksgiving.
you for Thanksgiving, as you were about to say, happy Thanksgiving
Happy
to all of you.
Thanksgiving,
And
Merry Christmas.
Christmas as
And a
well.
Happy New Year, because
And
we
a
won't
Happy New
see each
Year.
other until
That's
that
right. I'll be up with my New Jersey family for Christmas and New Year.